Here are a couple examples where the use or misuse of probability had some severe consequences. Example 20 in the book, The Challenger Disaster, shows an example of independence in the multiplication rule. On January 28, 1986, Space Shuttle Challenger exploded on takeoff. All 7 crew members were killed. Following the disaster, scientists and statisticians helped analyze what went wrong. They determined that the failure of O-ring joints in the shuttle's booster rockets was to blame. Under the cold conditions that day, experts estimated that the probability that an individual O-ring joint would function properly was 0.977. But there were 6 of these O-ring joints, and all 6 had to function properly for the shuttle to launch safely. Assuming that the O-ring joints succeed or fail independently, find the probability that the shuttle would launch safely under similar conditions. For the shuttle to launch safely, all 6 O-rings needed to function properly. So the chance this happens, if they're independent, would be joint 1 okay, and joint 2 okay, and joint 3 okay, etc. By the multiplication rule for independent events, this is the probability of each one multiplied together, and they're all 0.977 since they're independent. So if you multiply 0.977 times itself 6 times, you get 0.87. So even though individually it'd be very unlikely for one of them to malfunction, if you look at the probability that all 6 of them will all function properly, that's only 87%, which means there's a 13% chance that one of them, at least one of them, would fail. So as a result of this statistical analysis following the Challenger disaster, NASA made important safety changes to the design of the shuttle's booster rockets. So we'll have a little cartoon in between the next consequential issue. Very interesting. What are the odds of 2 ropes breaking at exactly the same time? Thought that was kind of funny. Okay, the next example is sudden infant death. Assuming independence, when it isn't true, can lead to disaster. Several mothers in England were convicted of murder simply because 2 of their children had died in their cribs with no visible cause. An expert witness for the prosecution said that the probability of an unexplained crib death in a non-smoking middle-class family is 1 out of 8,500. He then multiplied 1 out of 8,500 by 1 out of 8,500 to claim that there is only a 1 in 72 million chance that 2 children in the same family could have died naturally. And because of that, these women were convicted of murder, saying that was such a rare event that could have happened. It was so rare that could have happened naturally that they must conclude that it didn't happen naturally and that there was murder involved. But however, multiplying and saying these are independent is nonsense. It assumes that crib deaths are independent, and data suggests they are not. Some common genetic or environmental cause, not murder, probably explains the deaths. And the women did eventually get out of prison when this was re-examined, but this was a case where wrongly assuming independence had very serious consequences.